I support the proposal. I said that last week because I think it makes educational sense. And just for clarification, I cannot follow up Dr. Gondelli's letter. Wish I had written that. It was excellent. Mr. Eastman, you and I have had a lot of conversations about choice and your position of choice. And I think there was I read an editorial in the paper about choice and parental choice, and parents and students making the decisions of, what level of class they're going to be in here in the district. And so I would just include the statement that as a school board, for every single student in the district that we are responsible for, we are also responsible for those whose parents are not engaged enough to be able to make those choices. We cannot have classes that exist merely for parents who have the communication and involved with that meta-communication so they know what's going on. We are responsible for every single student. Do I support parental engagement? You know that I do. I have spoken about it repeatedly. I think it's very important. I support the programs of the Parenting Center that's working to make parents feel comfortable in the schools, be engaged with their students. I would love to see that moving up to the middle school level, and indeed at the high school level when we have ninth graders moving it into an entirely different environment where the expectations are different, the classes are more difficult. I absolutely support it. But should it be a criteria that determines whether or not your student gets an excellent education in our district? Absolutely not. I cannot support that statement. The second thing I want to address is the comment that this change is too ambitious. I have to say, I haven't said this before, but in reading the proposal, actually, when we first received this middle school transformation proposal, I actually thought a lot about this word transformation and what that actually means. And collapsing levels in our middle school, just taking that, you divided these proposals up in 3 sections. I'm not speaking solely to you either, but I wrote these notes down.
Don't speak to me. You're going to have to respond. We don't want to hear you talk more.
And what transformation really means. And is collapsing levels in the middle school for 6th, 7th, and 8th grades transformation? No. I see it, as Mr. Giles said earlier, it is one change in a list of many changes that our superintendent has been implementing to improve education for every student in our district. And looking at the budget for 12-13, the things that in there that I think are important are how are we supporting teachers? How are we working to make our teachers exceptional in the classroom and in other environments where they are engaging students and able to teach students? That is the key. The evaluations, the professional development, the curriculum, the alignment with assessment, those are the keys. We are arguing over collapsing levels in the middle school and the 9th grade in the high school. That is one change. And I believe it's a change that is best for all the students that are going to be participating in that change. As I said, this is my 7th year on the board. We have talked about levels, I think, every single year. It has been around, as Ms. Cream said, ever since I've been here. It is a diversion, it's a distraction, it's something we can hold on to because we think if our kid is in a certain level, okay, maybe they're not getting what they want, maybe what they need, maybe we can look at the curriculum, but it artificially gives us a sense of security that somehow if they're separated in that level, they're getting what they need. And it is artificial. And by collapsing those levels, we are working for the teachers to address all the students with differentiated instruction. I would argue that even in a leveled system, level 4 students do not all learn the same way. Level 3 students do not all learn the same way. Our teachers do differentiate instruction even when levels are present. Are we asking them to expand on that? Yes. Is it going to be difficult? Yes. Do I have confidence in our teachers and our principals and our supervisors and our superintendent to see that it can happen? Yes, I do. We are not asking our teachers to do something they have never had to face before. They face it every day. We're just asking them to expand on it, and we know they can do it because they've done it. Okay, I think that's it. I am very supportive. I'm excited. I see this as one structural change and many changes that I want to see in the middle school to truly be a transformed environment for students in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And the high school, we have a strategic plan. The possibilities there are endless. We have an amazing high school for some students, and we have to have the access to make that high school amazing for every student that enters those doors. So I am definitely supporting the proposal tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Wren-Hardin. Mr. Gleason?
Thank you. So I have various notes that I've jotted down. I don't really have a speech, but I'll try to go quickly since, you know, it seems pretty clear that the votes are there to pass all of this proposal. The first thing I'll say is it's very clear from the data that we have not fulfilled our duty as a school district and as a community to many of our students of color and other students in level 2 and 3 classes. I don't think anybody can dispute that. We have a long history of that. The flip side of that is levels are not responsible for that. We have an achievement gap that begins in the earliest grades in elementary school, and we don't start leveling until 6th or more recently 7th and 8th grade. My concern all along has been too much focus on structure, not enough focus on content. I respect the conviction and the thoroughness that Dr. Osborne and the administrative staff and the principals and the teachers have brought to this process and the proposal. It's been a long process. A lot of care has gone into the discussion around the process, the engagement with the public around the process, and the actual content of the proposal. And I know it's done with deep conviction and a belief that this is an important and necessary step, and I have full respect for that. And I'm very supportive of much of what's in here. One other data point I want to mention is, you know, the data that we got back from 7th grade de-leveling is a mixed bag. You know, there's some stuff in there that is good, encouraging, there's stuff in there that's concerning, and there's stuff in there that it's just too early to tell. The one thing I think that is most clear to me in that data set is that there was clearly grade inflation in some of those classes. It's a minor point in the context of everything that I'm thinking about as I weigh this proposal, but it's one I think we should be clear about. To me, it was the clearest data point that we got, and so I hope care is paid to that going forward. All right, I want to quote from the middle school proposal to explain why I'm going to vote the way I am. I'm going to be splitting my vote on different elements of this. And my biggest concern is with the middle school program, not with the IB program, which I'm very supportive of. I think there's strong evidence that IB, while it's not a curriculum, is a tool that can help propel districts to more innovation and a higher level of challenge. So I'm supportive of the IB proposal. The middle school proposal, though, here's where my concern is. And I'm quoting now from page 1 of the recommendation document. In addition to the work our district has undertaken around teaching and learning, our middle schools have recently instituted structural changes that were aimed at placing more of our students on a common path to excellence, with more 6th and 7th grade students provided access to our most challenging curricula. I think that's true. My concern is that our most challenging curricula are not challenging enough. In the next paragraph, our students need to be able to compete with their peers in Bangladesh and Singapore in an increasingly globalized and rapidly changing world. Well, that's very true, which takes me to this. I'm now going to quote from an article that was in Education Week newspaper very recently. It's published, written by a Francis Spielhagen, a former principal, and now the editor-in-chief of the Middle Grades Research Journal. The title of this article is, "Don't Forget Gifted Students, High Achievers Are Essential to Global Competition." Our struggle to bring all students up to a minimum level of proficiency is a laudable and necessary goal. However, attention to the majority has caused the nation to lose sight of the equally valid learning needs of the most capable students in our care. Several factors have created this situation. First, fears of elitism permeate our collective understanding of the role of schools in a democracy. Second, justifiable rejection of rigid tracking policies has resulted in few grouping options for students who can learn more quickly than their peers, while classroom instruction remains at a uniformly homogeneous level. No one wants to see any student condemned to substandard education, a result of some tracking systems, arguably ours. However, the brightest students are condemned to working at levels below their potential. At the same time, acceleration to the next grade is often not considered or even allowed, despite research-based evidence that documents the benefits of acceleration for our top students. Finally, most teachers have not been trained to work with highly able students in the regular classroom. The Program for International Student Assessment, or PISA, report in December 2010 showed that America's top students compared dismally with their peers across the globe. In math, only 1.9% of U.S. students scored in the 95th percentile on the assessment's highest proficiency level. That's well below the average of 3% of the total sample of students from other Organizations for Economic Cooperation and Development member nations, and well below the top students in several nations, including Singapore, which has 16% of those students scoring in the 95th percentile. So I support IB. I support the high school proposals because I think we have data. I think we have good data in this district that we are challenging our students at the top level, and we see that in scores. We see that in college matriculation and in other ways. Also, I think the high school proposal achieves something I think is vitally important, which is raising the level of challenge for all students. So the merging of levels that's proposed in the high school achieves that, but it still maintains pathways for students who are ready to progress at a faster pace or challenge themselves to a higher degree to do that. We have AP courses. There's actually the chance to increase the level of rigor in honors classes as the high school proposal has been set up. My concern is in the middle school, where I think the merging of levels 2, 3, and 4 is also a necessary step, and I support that step, but I don't think we're doing enough to pair that with more challenge and a structure that's flexible enough to allow students who can go faster to do that. There's a pledge that we're going to keep looking at that, but there's no meat on the bone at this point, and I think it's a missed opportunity. I don't think addressing those needs would cost us a lot more money. I don't think it's such a big lift that we don't have the staff in the district to do it. I think we've heard a significant portion of concern along these lines from the community. We've heard support on both sides of this, but there has been significant concern. There has been no amendment to the proposal. As Ms. Doherty pointed out, we were looking at the same proposal tonight as we looked at the beginning of the process, despite significant registration of concerns from the community about this issue. And so while I would love to support the whole thing, I think we're missing an opportunity to make this a complete proposal in grades 7 and 8, and on that basis, I'm going to have to vote no on that part of the proposal.